Welcome back. We are continuing, or should I say, actually completing our study of the book of Genesis. We are now in chapters 49 and 50, and these are the last two chapters of the book of Genesis, and hence the last two chapters of our study of the book of Genesis. And what a blessing and what a learning experience, and what what a blessing this study has been. Praise the Most High. Welcome back to all of you as we going now at the end of this study of Genesis. I got to get with Sister Isha Shama. I have not connected with her to upgrade our website as far as all of the Bible studies we have done that are newer Bible studies. I got to connect with her and upgrade our because if you saw the website, you'll see that we have older versions of our Bible studies there, but the most recent ones are not in there. So we have some old ones. So, and of course, in the Raw Hebrew Remnant YouTube channel, we have several studies, and they're not all. Well, they should be the most updated ones. You'll probably have several copies of Revelation and other books that we've done more than once. But this study, I'm going to try to get both in the YouTube as well as talk with Sister Isha Shama and get it on the regular website that we have. We haven't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have GD said some of them out of order. Some of them they are out of order, and I haven't had the chance or the time, which is why I actually connected with Isha Shama a couple of years ago to try to get some order to it. But it's my fault. I haven't even kept up with her to keep stuff in order. So I have to apologize for that. It's not all the order it should be. Yeah, I have to admit that it's not the order it should be, and it's my fault that it's not the order that it should be. Daniel study. Yeah, we haven't upgraded all of that. So praise the Most High. But yeah, we need to try to get that done. But it's just that we are so busy in terms of just the things the Most High has us doing and the movements and work and all of that. And so when we get a chance, we just try to chill, especially on Shabbat. We try to chill and catch our breath. And times are moving so fast, as you all can see. Times are moving so fast and things are happening so rapidly. It's hard to catch your breath. And so we're trying our best. We're trying our best. So we're finishing now the last two chapters of the prophecy and the historical content of Genesis. And so let's go to Genesis chapter 49, because now we saw that Jacob placed a blessing on Joseph's two sons. And also in doing so, a blessing on Joseph. He placed a blessing on Joseph's two sons and also a blessing on Joseph. Now it's interesting. Now, when you look at Ezekiel, for example, if you look at Ezekiel, let's look at for a second the last chapter of Ezekiel. That is chapter 48. The last chapter of Ezekiel. Let's take a look in Ezekiel chapter 48. And let's take a look in Ezekiel 48. And I want you to notice the mention of the 12 tribes, right? The mention of the 12 tribes. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to start at verse 23, where he starts to talk about the rest of the tribes in the kingdom. This is Ezekiel getting a vision of the kingdom. That's the end of Ezekiel. The end of the last couple of chapters, especially 47 and 48, are Ezekiel's vision of the final kingdom. Before that, Ezekiel gets a vision of the rebuilt temple, at least Father's intention for the rebuilt temple, and he gets all the dimensions. But in chapter 47 and 48, he's actually being shown the kingdom. Okay. And so here, and that matches, as we're going to see, with the book of Revelation. So here in Ezekiel chapter 48, I'm going to start at verse 23. I want you to notice a couple of things here. So as for the rest of the tribes, now he started talking about the Levite tribe first, the priests, which were the ones that are going to teach Israel. Okay, of all the tribes of Israel, they're going to teach Israel, the Levite tribe. So he says, as for the rest of the tribes, From the east side of unto the west, Benjamin shall have a portion. And by the border of Benjamin, from the east side unto the west side, Shimeon shall have a portion. And by the border of Shimeon, from the east side unto the west side, Issachar shall have a portion. And by the border of Issachar, from the east side unto the west side, Zebulun shall have a portion. And from the border of Zebulun unto the east side, from the east side unto the west side, Gad shall have a portion. And by the border of Gad, from the south side southward, the border shall even be from Tamar unto the waters of Strife and Kadesh, to the river toward the great sea. This is the land which ye shall divide by lot unto the tribes of Israel for inheritance. And these are their portions, saith the Most High Yahweh. And these are the goings out of the city. On the north side, 4,500 measures. And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel. 3 gates northward, 1 gate Reuben, 1 gate Judah, 1 gate Levi. Tribes of Israel. Okay, gates have names over them as Reuben, Judah, and Levi. On the Bible say these 3 gates are going to be on the north side. Then in verse 32, and on the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates. 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, 1 gate of Dan. So on the east side of the city, Joseph, Benjamin, and Dan. And on the south side, 4,500 measures, 3 gates, 1 gate of Simeon, 1 gate of Issachar, 1 gate of Zebulun, and then finally on the west side, 4,500 with their 3 gates, gate of Gad, gate of Asher, gate of Naphtali. So all the tribes are covered here, all 12 tribes. And as Revelation says, it has 12 gates, and above the gates, the name of the 12 tribes of Israel. So you can see here that all 12 tribes are represented, right? So all 12 tribes are represented. Verse 35, it says, and it was round about 18,000 measures. That is 4,500 times 4. 18,000 measures. And the name of the city from that day shall be Yahweh is there. Praise the Most High. Yahweh is there. So that is the New Jerusalem. That is the New Jerusalem with its 12 gates, and each gate has a tribe, and each tribe obviously will have the populace of that tribe being represented, right? So you can have a population of each tribe being represented in the 12 tribes. Now, we understand that in Joseph, there's 2 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. Y'all follow me? So in Joseph, there's 2 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. In Joseph, 2 tribes, right? So you have Joseph, his name is over the gates, but his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, are representative of his tribe. Everybody following me so far? So there's 12 gates. Joseph is represented in the gate, and Joseph's gate, Joseph's tribes are representative of his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay. You also notice that Dan has a gate. So therefore, there'll be populations of the 12 tribes from the tribe of Dan. Why do I mention that? Because you'll notice a difference between the final populations of the kingdom, where you have the 12 tribes, and the 144,000. The 144,000 are the forerunners of the kingdom. They're going to be giving a message to the people. They're the forerunners. There are 2 tribes that are not named. There are 2 tribes. Now, sister, listen to your body. She said 1, but there are actually 2 that are not named by name of the 144,000. That's right. GD said Ephraim. Now let's take a look at it in Revelation chapter 7. Don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at it. Revelation chapter 7. And I'm going to start at verse 4 and go from verse 4 down to verse 8. That is Revelation chapter 7, from verse 4 to verse 8. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. So we have Reuben, Bible tells us, Gad, and Judah. The tribe of Asher was sealed 12,000. Naphtali was sealed 12,000. And Manasseh was sealed 12,000. The tribe of Simeon was sealed 12,000. Levi, 12,000. And Issachar, 12,000. Zebulun, 12,000. And it says Joseph. So you have Manasseh, and you have this other one that's called Joseph, but Joseph is Manasseh, 12,000. And Benjamin, 12,000. So why is it that there's no Dan? And why does it not name, although you can see that if Joseph is there, Ephraim is there. So why are they not named? Did you see that? They're on the gates, so they're going to have populations in the kingdom. But why are they not named among the 144,000? What does the Bible tell us about those two tribes? Those two tribes. The Bible tells us about those two. What did it say about those two tribes? What does it say about those two tribes? Why they're not named among the 144? That's right. Those two, set up golden calves in the northern kingdom. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, was of the tribe of Ephraim, and he set 2 golden calves in Shiloh. Shiloh was the original place that YHWH or Joshua went, and that's the original place that they went with the Ark of the Covenant. Later, it was moved to Judah. But at first, it wasn't in Judah. It was in Ephraim, and it was in Shiloh. But then this man, Jeroboam, set up 2 calves there. And not only did he do that, but aside from that, Dan set up two golden calves in Dan. Okay? Dan set up 2 golden calves in Dan. That's why they're not mentioned. Even though they have representation in terms of the kingdom of Israelite tribes in the kingdom, they're not mentioned among the 144,000. Because the 144,000 are the brethren that are used as the forerunners of Messiah. Therefore, these 2 are not the forerunners of Messiah. Does that make sense? Y'all following me? Okay, y'all follow me? So let's see here. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to find in 2 Chronicles where it gives us the most of these things here. It's in 2 Chronicles. Let me see here. I think it's chapter 12. I want to go to chapter 12. Yeah, chapter 12 of 2 Chronicles. No, it's not that. Maybe it's Kings that I want, because it's not giving me the history like I've seen it before. It must be Kings. So let's go back to the Kings here. Let's go back to the Kings. Let's go back to the Kings. Okay, yeah. I think it's the Kings I want. Yeah. Here it is. It is First Kings chapter 12. Yeah. It's First Kings chapter 12. Yes. First Kings chapter 12 gives you that history. First Kings chapter 12 gives you that history. Yeah. First Kings chapter 12. And this is where Jeroboam was called to be king of the northern kingdom, but he used his power to send the people to golden calves. Yes. And so let's look at Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Let's start with First Kings chapter 12. Yes, First Kings chapter 12. I'm going to go from First Kings chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 25. Yes, this is going to give you the story. First Kings chapter 12 from verse 25 down to verse 33. Okay, First Kings chapter 12 from verse 25 down to verse 33. First Kings 12, 25 to 33. Watch Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. First Kings chapter 12, 25 to 33. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again to their Lord, even to Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah. Now, even though he was told by a prophet that the Father Yah is giving you 10 tribes, this is the machinations of his thoughts still. Verse 28, watch what he did. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. That sounds just like what they did when Moses went 40 days in Mount Sinai. They set up a golden calf and said, this is thy gods that brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Obviously, Egypt was into the worship of calves and cows. And so he set up 2 and said, don't go up to Jerusalem to worship for the feast, even though that's what Moses told them to do. You go to Jerusalem to worship for the feast. That's the place that Yah has ordained out of the 12 tribes. No, he stopped them and says, come here. And he set one in Bethel and the other put he in Dan. 1 golden calf in Bethel of Ephraim and the other one in Dan. Look at that. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made a house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month. The feast is supposed to be in the 7th month. He ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like the feast that is in Judah, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel, and he offered the altar and burnt incense. This, brethren, the northern tribes never repented of. They never repented of. Okay? Then, at that unrepentant state of mixing the worship, notice what they did. Whereas the Father gave them the 7th month, the 15th day of the month, and Levites of Aaron's seed as the teachers, as the priests. He made his own priests of Levites that weren't even Levites. He made his own feast in the 8th day, 8th month. And he put golden calves in Dan and in Ephraim. And they did not repent of this. And while they were in this state, the Assyrians came and took them over. So that the Assyrians brought with them different groups of people, such as the Sephardim, that they exist to this day. They call them Jews, Sephardic Jews. Have you heard of them? This is where they came from. That's why the tribes of the southern kingdom did not want to deal with the northern kingdom. They were mixed people. Not only were they mixed people, they had the religion all mixed up. And that's why Messiah told the Samaritan woman, you don't even know what you worship. Salvation is of the Jews. They didn't realize that. They thought it was some sort of competition, like between denominations or something. But no, it's not like that. So the Father, in showing us this, is also showing us his real displeasure with Dan and Ephraim. You catching it? Not saying that they're lost as tribes, because their names are going to be on the 12 gates. So they're going to have populations of people that were faithful to the Father. But he's showing us we cannot have these people represented as my people calling out of Babylon in the last days. These people with the golden calf that were unrepentant. That's the last state we saw of the northern tribes. That is why the Samaritans, the Jews, the southern kingdom had no dealings with the Samaritans. They were not only not bloodline, they were not only not that, but they had their own form of what Yah gave the nation, their own form. They made up their own stuff. The only thing they had was that they were standing on land that Jacob had stood on, which is why the woman said, our father Jacob. Jacob wasn't their father. You understand? Jacob wasn't their father. That's why Sephardic Jews aren't even bloodline. But people try to make them bloodline. But they're not, see. And that's why you don't see Dan and Ephraim listed in 144,000. But you do see northern tribes listed. You see every other northern tribe listed. You see Joseph listed. You see Manasseh listed. You see Zebulun and Issachar and Gad. You see all of them listed. But not by their father's name, not by Ephraim. You're following that? So, with that in mind, we go to Genesis chapter 49. I praise the Most High for his word, because if you just study his word and you study it pretty thoroughly, it's all in there. Everything's all in there. Praise the Most High. So now Jacob is going to give a prophetic utterance about each of his 12 sons. Now, this is the thing, brethren. They have made this so-called 12 tribes chart they claim is based on Genesis 49. It's not. It's made up. Because as we all know, just as all of us have been mixed, so our tribes have been mixed. They didn't say, get into the ship according to your tribes. Get into the slave. They said, you better get down in the hole of that ship, or we don't care what tribe you are. And when they mixed us, if you ever look at the movie, the series Roots, y'all ever see Roots? And when Kunta Kinte first came to the United States and he was looking at the people, he said, this is the tribe of so-and-so. And he could tell by looking at them, they were different tribes. And they were all mixed together on a plantation. Do you remember that? He said, this is the tribe of so-and-so. This is the tribe of so-and-so. And the other brother look at him like, how do you know? He's looking because he knows the tribes from where he come from, but he can see they're all mixed together. So we weren't separated by tribes. They took away our name. They took away our God. They took away our culture. They took away everything that reminds us of who we are, and they placed us in their system according to their religion and their white Jesus. Y'all see that? And so our slave masters gave us what we know to be Christianity. Christianity did not come to us from the Apostle Paul. It did not come to us from the Messiah. It came to us from the people of the North, the Europeans. And they gave it to us with the names that they used for their European patriarchs. And they gave us those names. And they gave us Sunday. And they gave us white Jesus. That wasn't what we were created with. That wasn't our original nation. Okay? And so We were brought here, and we have these Baptist churches and these Episcopal churches and these African Episcopal, African Methodist, and all of this comes from the Europeans, the children of Yafet. It's not something we had that was originally with us. It's something that was pushed on us. Our names were even pushed on us. Our names originally weren't Smith and Jones. Our names weren't Anderson. That wasn't our name. Our name, that's not our name. Jordan, that wasn't our name. Even Gonzalez, that wasn't our name. Martinez, that was not our name. They were pushed on us from our slave masters. And the fact is that if you have that name, they also had their way with you also. Kelly, that's right. They also had their way with your people. And your people got mixed with their seed. Strange enough, they like to say we weren't human beings, but they love to have sex with us. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, that's how we got here. But now we know who we really are and where we really come from. Okay? And why what we see is what we see. And how the Father really thinks about calf worship and idol worship and people making up their own stuff. He's not into it at all. Okay? Because he knows who he has called. He knows the family he has chosen. He knows the people that only people that he has ever known on planet. You only, he says, have I known. Nobody else. That's the truth about it. Praise the Most High. Genesis chapter 49. And I'm going to start from verse 1. Genesis chapter 49. Let's start from verse 1 and 2. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. So he's telling them about their future and the future of their tribes. And he's using signs to tell them about their future. Now, this does not say, listen carefully, where they will be geographically. It just says what they will be like, what their character will be like. That's what he's describing. Their character and their future. He's describing that. Where there will be, well, we're going to be scattered. Okay? So let's go from verse 3, and he starts with Reuben, verse 3 and 4. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might in the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, and then defilest thou it, and he went up to my couch. Yep. So he's messed with one of his father's women, and because of that, he's declared unstable. Simeon and Levi, verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. That's the second and the third born. Simeon and Levi, second and third. First Reuben, Simeon and Levi, second and third. And you remember what he's talking about when he talks about instruments of cruelty, what they did to those people that raped their sister. Verse 6, O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they digged down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. So Levi was scattered in Israel, was it not? So Levi didn't inherit any land, but they became the priests of Yah. But apparently them brothers had a bit of a temper on them. So these brothers are like priests with a temper. They're like teachers with a bad temper. and Simeon too. Is Simeon with Levi. Praise the Most High. And now, verse 8, Judah, right? We can kind of imagine, but let's see what he says. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. Unto him shall the gathering of the people be, binding his foal into his vine and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments with wine and his clothes with the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, I don't understand what he means with all of these. Like, I don't understand when he calls Simeon and Levi instruments of cruelty, and then later Levi becomes the priesthood, right? But Judah is pretty clear, right? With all we know about the Messiah and David, Judah is pretty clear. So he says the scepter, that is kingship, that is the royalty, that is the ruling class, shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. Until Shiloh come. That's interesting. I don't even know what that means. Shiloh was the capital city of Ephraim. That was Shiloh. Okay. So I don't know. And Jacob was there at Shiloh. That's where he met Rachel. Well, no. Yeah, that's where he met Rachel. But I don't know what he means by that. All we do know, though, is that the Messiah comes out of Judah. Messiah is going to be the king. So the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Right? Y'all catching that? So the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. So he's going to be the king, the monarch. And we know that the Messiah, that is definitely the case. And David also. Okay? So it was already prophesied here, right? But like I said, I can't begin to tell y'all I understand what he's saying to all 12 tribes because I don't. Okay, and that's the thing, brethren. If you're a teacher, one of the things that makes you a teacher is that you are learning, right? So that means there are things you don't know. But the Messiah is the teacher of all teachers because Messiah learned directly from the Father. And the Father is the teacher that is appointed. Messiah is all teachers. They don't need nobody telling them nothing. They know. The rest of us, we're learning. Praise the Most High. Genesis chapter 49, beginning at verse 13 and going to verse 14 and 15. So now we're talking about Zebulun and Issachar. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea. He shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Issachar is a strong as couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant. And he bowed his shoulders to bear and became servant unto tribute. Now, haven of the sea obviously is talking about ships and water and sailor type people, right? I mean, it says, dwell at the haven of the sea shall be for a haven of ships. He's mentioned it. So apparently Zebulun's people were knowledgeable of seafaring people, ships and things of that nature. Okay, boats and ships and things like that. Yeah. See, but it's telling us that. And then Issachar, I can understand the strong ass part because that's telling you a strong bearer of burdens, but also a stubborn person, right? Because when an ass don't want to move, a donkey decides, I'm sitting here, he's sitting there, right? So he said, I can understand that part. But then he said, became a servant unto tribute. That means a servant unto taxes. Now, Dan, what we know about Dan, let's look at verse 16 and 17 of Genesis 49, actually 16, 17, and 18. Dan shall judge his people. Dan means judge. That's what the word Dan means. Dan means judge. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards. I have waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh. We do know Dan is not among the 144,000. We do know Dan did have the golden calf, and it said most of the people went there to worship. Don't ask me what the rest of this stuff means, because I don't know. I am not ashamed when I don't know something, because then if I say I don't know, guess what? The Most High might teach me. That's the way I look at it. If for me to say I don't know, I don't want to guess. So if I don't know, I'm going to just say I don't know, because maybe then the Father will teach me. But because I don't know. Yeah. Verse 19 and 20, Gad and Asher. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher, his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. So apparently it says Gad shall be overcome, but then he also is going to overcome at the end. Okay, praise the Most High. We can understand that. It talk about Asher having royal dainties that come from him. Okay. Naphtali. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. That's all he said. Hind is a deer, like a wild deer. That's a hind in the Bible. That's a wild deer. It's a deer let loose. I don't know. Joseph is a fruitful bow, verse 22, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and his arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty Most High of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the Most High of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. Blessings of thy father shall prevail above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. So he puts a great blessing upon Joseph, right? And so that is why, even though Ephraim is not named among the 144,000, Joseph is his father. His father is. Okay. So maybe Ephraim gets the blessing because of who his daddy is, which also makes sense. That would be Joseph. So Joseph got a blessing, man. Praise the Most High. Verse 27, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is it that their father spake unto them and blessed them, everyone according to his blessings that he blessed them. So now he blesses all 12 of his sons. Praise the Most High. Verse 29, and he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. Verse 31, there they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah, his wife, and there I buried Leah. It's interesting, isn't it? Leah was the hated one. Rachel was the loved one. But he's buried next to Leah. Leah was his first wife, and she bore him 6 sons. Regardless of how he felt about Rachel, which we know he was really favorable toward Rachel and made her firstborn son the blessing of the firstborn of all the tribes, his wife was Leah. At the end of the day, he gave Leah the honor of being buried with Sarah and Abraham, with Rebekah and his father Isaac. He and Leah are buried there. Praise the Most High. He buried next to Leah, his wife, who has borne him 6 sons and 1 daughter. That was Leah. Praise the Most High. So verse 32 and 33. The purchase of the field of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. When Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost and was gathered unto his people. See, now, if you listen to Christians, when he said he yielded up the ghost, he went to be with the Lord. When they say he yielded up the ghost, he went to go be with the Lord. The Bible does not teach that we go to be with the Lord when we die. Paul said, I'd rather depart and be with the Lord, which means the next face he would see would be the Messiah, who is the resurrection and the life. But he's not looking down on us from heaven now. He is in dust to be called back. The thing about death, brethren, when you study the truth, you will have an understanding instead of the falsehoods and Disney World type stuff of Christianity. When you look at the Bible, what you understand is there is no sense of time in death. Okay? There is no sense of time in death. Why is that important? When the resurrection happens, the people who are resurrected will have no idea how long they've been dead. When the Father causes Messiah to cause the dust particles to come back and to become people again, as he showed in Ezekiel 37, he said, prophesy to the wind, prophesy to the bones, and they came to become the nation of Israel, right? So when these people are resurrected, it's going to be as if they just died. So when Jacob is resurrected, he had just closed his eyes in sleep in his mind and went to sleep and resurrected immediately. Why? Because no matter how many thousands of years go by, to the dead person, there is no sense of time. They are not conscious of any time. Does that make sense? They're no longer conscious of time. They're no longer conscious of anything. So when their conscience is brought back to them, when the life giver of the Messiah calls the Jacob back, when he calls him back, Jacob is going to just have, in his mind, I just died. And now I'm waking up. So it looks like to you who are waking up, Paul, I'm going to be with the Lord. Yeah, because when I die, but the next face I see is the Messiah. They don't go up to be with the Lord. They're here in the grave. Unless, like the 24 elders, they have been resurrected. Right? The 24 elders have been redeemed from the earth. That's what the Bible teaches us. In fact, let's take a look at it. Revelation. First, let's look at Matthew chapter 27. Let's look at Matthew chapter 27 first. Then we'll go to Revelation chapter 4. Matthew chapter 27 first. Okay? Because it explains what happens later. Matthew chapter 27. I'm going to begin at verse 50. Matthew chapter 27, beginning at verse 50 and going down to verse 53. Matthew 27 from 50 to 53. YHWH, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. There it is again, just like Jacob. Yielded up the ghost. That is, died. That is, the breath left him. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And, notice verse 52 and 53, the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. So people were raised from the dead. It doesn't say who they are, but it says they were raised from the dead. And they had witnesses because they appeared to people. They didn't just raise up in secret. They appeared to people, just like the Messiah rose up and appeared to his disciples and was hanging out with his disciples for 40 days. These people were raised from the dead like Messiah, and they appeared unto many. Now we go and we see a group of people around the throne, which we hadn't seen before. Daniel 7 talks about a judgment scene, but he never mentions these people. Let's look at it. Revelation chapter 4. Revelation chapter 4. And I'm going to read from verse 1 to 4. Revelation chapter 4 from verse 1 to 4. After this, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was, as it were, of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. By the way, when you read the first 2 or 3 chapters of Ezekiel, you'll see the same thing. Okay, the same thing is there. Verse 4. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. There you go. So they were round about the throne. Now, Ezekiel did not see the 24 elders. Ezekiel saw the 4 beasts. He did not see the 24 elders that were with crowns of gold and white raiment. Obviously, they were redeemed from the earth, as chapter 5 would bring out. They were redeemed from the earth. And it makes sense that they were of those that were resurrected. Now, who they are, the Bible never tells us who they are. Never directly. Indirectly, it says, it alludes to like maybe John the Baptist is around, was one of them. But it doesn't really tell us who they are. We know Moses was resurrected, so it could be him too. We know Elijah didn't see death, so it could be him too. We know Enoch didn't see death, so it could be him too. But other than that, we don't really know who they are. But we know that they are, right? We don't know who they are, but we know they are. They exist, okay? They exist. So that is what it means when they yield up the ghost. They don't go to be with the Lord. That's a Christian false doctrine. And there is no 12 tribes chart that you can tell. That's a Hebrew false doctrine. Praise the Most High. Okay. The last chapter, very interesting things in this chapter. This is Genesis chapter 50. The last chapter, Genesis chapter 50. Going to begin at verse 1. Yes, I'm going to begin at verse 1, and I'm going to go down from verse 1 down to verse 5 first. This is Genesis chapter 50 from verses 1 to 5. Genesis chapter 50, verses 1 to 5. He's the last chapter of Genesis. Genesis chapter 50, verses 1 to 5. Now, and Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were fulfilled for him. So are fulfilled the days of those that are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. So they embalmed Joseph. They embalmed Israel, Jacob. and they embalmed him, and they mourned for him 70 days. And now they're going to bury him next to Leah in the same cave that Abraham and Sarah are buried in the same cave that Isaac and Rebekah are buried in. You're going to see now Israel next to Leah in that cave. Okay, so now this is chapter 50. Let's watch this now. We're going to go from verse 6 down to verse 11. So the procession of Israelites and Egyptians going to Canaan. Okay, a procession of Israelites and Egyptians, or Mizraim, going to Canaan. Here we are. This is Genesis chapter 50 from verses 6 through verse 11. From verse 6 to 11. And Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear." And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph and his brethren, and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made every mourning for his father, made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, listen to this, when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians." Wherefore the name of it was called Abal Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. Did you notice the name of the place they call the mourning to the Egyptians, the real name is Abal Mizraim, because there's no Egypt, there's Mizraim. That's the original name of those people, number one. Y'all notice that? So Abal means mourning. Mizraim is the name of the people. So that the Canaanites could not tell the difference between the people that were in the crowd that were Israelites and people that were in the crowd that were Mizraim. What does that tell you? They could not tell the difference between the people in the crowd that were Mizraim and the people in the crowd that were Israel. They couldn't tell the difference between them. What does that tell you? They must look similar. They must look very similar. You couldn't tell the difference between, and it wasn't like we could say, well, maybe the Israelites were dressed like Egyptians because they had just got into the land. They weren't dressed like Egyptians. They were dressed like who they were, Jacob's children from the land of Canaan. So here they come with the Mizraim, and the people that observe them look at them and say, "Oh, this is a great morning for the Mizraim, the people of Mizraim." So they're looking at them and they can't tell them apart, telling us that if you want to know what the 12 tribes look like, they look like people of ancient Mizraim. They looked like people that came from one of Ham's children. So you can imagine Ham's children must have been pink. They had to be pink. I mean, because they're trying to tell us that the modern Israelites of Hebrew descent are pink. But this Bible says they came from Mizraim. You can't, today they call the land Africa. And we said the other day, we counted it, that our fathers were in Africa for 205 years. So you come in and telling me that you're going to be in Africa for 5 generations and come out pink. Really? And you were with them even for 17 years, and they start saying, "Well, y'all look alike. Y'all look alike." So you must have been there, and they all must have been pink. And we came out pink. No, they said they're very light skinned. It must have been. And somehow, over the course of centuries, they learned how to speak Yiddish. A great morning to the Egyptians, wherefore the name of it was called Abal Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. Abal Mizraim. There you go. Okay. Praise the Most High. So now it's another, I guess what I'm saying is another confirmation that the Israelites were melanated people. That's what I'm saying. That, let me just make that plain. The original Israelites, Jacob's original 12 sons, were melanated people. Melanated. That means they had brown in them. That means they could produce melanin. They can produce color. Melanated. Praise the Most High. We're just reading from the Bible. We're just reading from the Bible. Right? Did I make that up, or did the Bible say they were about Mizraim? Bible said that. It didn't say it about one tribe. It said it about all 12 tribes about Mizraim. Yep. Praise the Most High. All right. So let's continue. This is now verse 12. We're at verse 12 and go from verse 12 down to verse 14. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. And his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for a possession of a burying place of Ephraim the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned unto Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. So they went and they returned to Egypt, or Mizraim, after they buried their father. Verse 15. Now his brothers are a little scared, as they should be, from verse 15 down to verse 18. And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, Joseph will peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all the evil which we did unto him. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, Thy father did command before he died, saying, So shall ye say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee, now the trespass of thy brethren and their sin. For they did unto thee evil, and now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of thy servants, of the Most High of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face. And they said, Behold, we be thy servants. Now, where is the dreamer now? What would they think about his dreams now, I wonder? Because they just fulfilled it, didn't they? Didn't they? They just fulfilled it. We be thy servants. From verse 19, let's read down to verse 19, down to verse 21. Genesis chapter 50, from verse 19 to verse 21. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in the place of the Most High? But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but the Most High meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now, therefore, fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them. Praise the Most High. Joseph understood that the dreams he was shown and all that he went through was the path laid out for him from the Heavenly Father. And the Heavenly Father, during the course of his youth, was showing him the outline of the path he would take. And so he's not blaming his brothers. He knows the Heavenly Father ordained this whole thing. Right? This was no accident. And so he's not going to take retribution from what the Heavenly Father did. Praise the Most High. So now from verse 22 down to verse 26. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children unto the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and the Most High will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware unto Abraham. to Isaac and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, the Most High will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from thence. And Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. So, yeah, he said, take my bones home. Don't leave me in Egypt. Take me back with y'all when y'all get delivered. Praise the Most High. And he knew they were going to be delivering him. So he lived, he was 39 years old when his father came to Egypt. Joseph was 39 years old, and he lived another 71 years to be 110. Praise the Most High. He lived another 71 years. Praise the Most High for the word of the Most High. We went through the whole prophecy and history of Genesis, and we saw our also history and our future in Genesis. Praise the Most High. So now we will go back and study the book of Revelation. Now, by studying the book of Revelation, we all should understand by now that the book of Revelation will take us all over the Bible, particularly what's called the Old Testament. The book of Revelation will take us all through the Old Testament, because the book of Revelation is a compilation of the prophets from what's called the Old Testament. Okay, so we'll be reading a lot of Old Testament prophecy in studying the book of Revelation. Okay, most people don't understand that, because the people that are trying to make as if they know what Revelation says are Christians, and they don't know what Revelation says because they don't study the whole Bible. They only study the New Testament, and they mostly are following a white Jesus that does not exist. People say, well, his color doesn't matter. Maybe his color doesn't matter, but when you give him a color, you give him whiteness, you make him European, you have just ruined him. Okay? And they try to make it so surface. Well, you're just saying about his color. It's more than his color. No, it is more. But you're making it, you just made a false God. You've placed your tool on the Messiah. You've ruined him by making him a white man from Europe. You just ruined him. And therefore, it's not a far stretch to say, not only have you ruined him, but you've ruined the belief that the Father gave to Israel. You've ruined it. What you created. That's right. You lied. So no, it does matter. It all matters. The truth matters. Always. The truth matters. Praise the Most High. Yeah, and we are in the book of Revelation. We are living in the times that Revelation is talking about. We are living in Revelation 13. We are living in Revelation 17. We are living in Revelation 18. We're here. We are living in the sixth church, the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet. We're here. This is where we live. And so we're actually going to be talking and seeing ourselves. That's amazing. And we're going to be seeing ourselves in the book of Revelation. Where we at, where we come from, and where we're going. Praise the Most High. Okay. Praise the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. And may he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So pray for us. We're going to be going to Brother Baldy Thorpe's room there and do a baptism in about an hour. So pray for us that the Most High's name be glorified. Let's keep each other in prayer, brothers and sisters and family, as we are among the people the Bible is talking about. Praise the Most High. Shalom.